ready to tackle big school. Even though my circumstances may be different, I am sure that the dedicated teachers and friendly students will make your time at St Greg's as good as mine was, or is. As well as this, I also enjoy playing sport, and being a part of the first grade rugby, league and union squad, along with playing AFL, has allowed me to fully immerse myself in the many co-curricular aspects of this school. However, my favourite part of St Greg's is what you gain. The mateship, camaraderie, experiences and values instilled at the college is what I cherish most. As these friends, values and memories developed over the last 6 years will stay with me for the rest of my life. So once again, I would welcome you all and now invite Aidan to the microphone.
Many thanks, Mitch, for your address. I would now like to introduce a new boy to St Gregory's College. Angus Limbury is a new Year 7 student. To give us his reflection of his start at St Greg's, please welcome Angus Limbury.
Welcome everyone. So I've been asked to talk to you all about my first few weeks here at St Greg's. I could talk for hours on end about this amazing school, but I've decided to say one word: unreal. You'll come here next year, you walk around a bit, get to know the place, and it'll feel unreal. You'll find out your music class is 3 levels up and think it's amazing. Do you know why I know this will happen? Because it happened to me, and it happened to everyone in my grade. Everyone I've met so far has been nothing but kind, teachers and students. I've been given countless opportunities, some being rugby, public speaking, and the musical, just to name a few. Starting next year will be a daunting experience, but hopefully you learn from what happened to me. We all know what first days are like. They can be very nerve-wracking, but mine was not too scary. I wasn't scared about coming here because I've had 3 older brothers who have come here or are still here. I was a little scared about meeting 190 new boys, and I still don't think I've met everyone. I came from a small school. There was about 300 of us, and only 7 kids came here. I know a lot of you today are going to have a lot less than me, but it's still very scary. After meeting as many new people as possible, I quickly learned that these boys will be family for the next 6 years, and most likely longer. I would like to ask you to look to your left and to your right. The boys sitting near you could be your best friends next year. Study is so important, and it's the only way that you'll progress in your learning, and the responsibility is yours. In my first few weeks here at St Greg's, I received a manageable amount of homework and thought, oh, it's not much, I'll leave it till later. That was a big mistake. Don't leave homework late like I did. Do it straight away, otherwise red stamps will be given, or you'll have to waste your very valuable handball time and do it at lunch. I finally understand now what it's like to be a Greg's boy. In my few weeks here at St Gregory's, I've had Year 8s and up come up to me and give me some pointers on how to start. And can I tell you that they made a massive difference. They are respectful of everyone and are very enthusiastic. I've come from a family where all my uncles and my dad went to St Greg's and are old boys, so coming to St Greg's and becoming a Greg's boy is such a privilege. I'm talking to you now, parents. I can tell you wholeheartedly that this is the school for your kids, for your boys. Whether your son is sporty, academic, or maybe he's an awesome singer, this school has opportunities for him, and on top of that will provide him with an amazing education. My first few weeks at St. Gregory's College has been amazing, and I look forward to seeing you all next year. Thanks.
Congratulations, Angus, on having the courage to stand up and give your reflections at the beginning of your beginnings of St. Gregory's College. A job well done. Now he's off to do his homework, as it is an important part of school. Our college headmaster, Mr. Damien Miller, joined the college in 2009 and has overseen many positive developments whilst under his direction. To address you now, I welcome Mr. Miller.
Thanks, Mitch. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight. I'm not going to speak long tonight because you would have heard me on Sunday if you were here at least 3 times if you wanted to repeat it. But I will, for parents who weren't here on Sunday and haven't seen around the college, I do tours on Friday afternoon. So the next Friday afternoon, I'm going to be available to do a tour at 4 o'clock. And when I do that tour, what they would have heard here on Sunday, I do that as we walk through the place. So those who weren't here on Sunday, wish to see the place, Friday afternoon, if you let Kate know, she will put your name down and I'll meet you and greet you and we'll go for a walk together and talk about it. Just thank you to Angus, as Mitch said, to get up here and speak in front of 600 people, and especially for a little Year 7, that's pretty impressive. And he's obviously a font of information there for you as well. But just to give you some background on him, he was also the captain of the primary school that he came from, and we had a public speaking competition last week, and out of 180 Year 7 boys, he actually won that competition. And Angus himself knew the boy who wins that Year 7 competition gets to speak up here each year. So he was very keen to do that tonight, and he did a great job with it. So well done, Angus. He's out the back there. I can see him smiling now. Just to say thank you to all the staff who are here tonight, and you'll hear a number of them get up and talk about Year 7 and what happens here at the college. But we've got Mr. Brennan, who's the Deputy Headmaster here. We've also got Mrs. Dean, who will talk about parent liaison for you. Mr. Spencer, who'll talk about boarding for you. Now down the back, we have Mr. Hawkins, who's part of our boarding contingent, and all those young men you would have met tonight on the way in who would have opened the door for you and got all that information out of you on the way over into the hall, and most probably told you all about themselves as well. He looks after those gentlemen and trains them up. And also Mr. Graham is down there. He looks after studies across the college. So what I'm talking about there are all the various subjects, maths, English, science, etc. Also we've got Mrs. Miller. She looks after teaching and learning, how we teach in the classroom. Mrs. Dash is there also, and she looks after our learning support boys. And Mr. Wilson's the Year 7 coordinator. And then Mrs. Stott is at the desk behind it, all the enrolment packages there. She's also asked me to remind you, the boys and parents who weren't here on Sunday, there are bags that you can pick up from her on the way out as well if you need to pick those up. Also tonight, as you saw, you had Angus up here, but we always invite one of our high achievers back to come and tell you what it was like for him over the 6 years he was here at the college. And we've asked Sean to do a number of these. We've got a cocktail party on Friday night for the new junior school parents. And then also we've got a cocktail party on Saturday night for the new Year 7 parents and other boys who are new to the college. And I'm very appreciative of the fact that Sean's come along tonight to do it for us. And also he is going to reappear on Saturday night as well and give up some time for us. I'm not sure you can make it on Friday night. No, it's okay. We've still got another one who is prepared to give up Friday night as well. And when Sean comes up here, you'll find out he got an ATAR of 99 in the HSC, and we actually had about 3 of those boys this year, and then a lot of other boys got over 90. So when you listen to Sean, it shall be worthwhile listening to. But having said that, I will leave you and let the others do all the talking tonight. But as I said, if you haven't seen the college, you'd like to see it, let Kate know. She'll book you in for Friday afternoon, and then we can walk and talk as we go. But thank you very much once again for coming out as well.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I now ask that you turn your attention to the screen.
In 1926, St. Gregory's College started off with just 3 students. Today we have over 1,000 boys who have come from far and wide to be a part of St Greg's great family spirit and to take away memories that will last.
Tremendous being a boarding college. It was like family. That's very important.
And if you plant your seeds right, you'll see them grow and come to fruition. So it goes through the motto, as you sow, so shall you reap.
St Greg's is probably coming down to the farm and feeding the cattle and the sheep, and yeah, it just feels like home.
I know that a good school is a lot more than just bricks and mortar, and these bricks and mortars are empty without the hearts that need to fill them. And so at St Greg's we have teachers that have hearts full of, that really want to encourage us and inspire us to really reach our full potential. And to complement that, we have students that are really energetic and are ready to just move out into the world and inspire the next generation. And I know that Marston Champagnat wanted schools that fill hearts and minds of students, and I guess I feel really lucky and fortunate that St Greg's has done that for me.
You will have noticed that we had Josiah and Jack in the presentation. They were the 2016 and 2017 college captains. Sean Maben was a college leader in 2017, elected as college vice captain. Apart from many co-curricular activities, Sean also received an ATAR of 99.35. Sean has kindly agreed to return this evening to give you a snapshot of a student who completed his secondary schooling at St Gregory's College. Please welcome Sean.
Having thought back to 2011-2012, my own transition from primary to high school, I can appreciate the experience that many of you as families are going through, particularly if this is your first experience with the college. Researching prospective high schools, attending multiple open days and information evenings like these can have a blurring effect, where I know making the distinctions between schools becomes difficult. Bearing that in mind, I wish to use this opportunity to speak to you not just to present another advertisement or a pitch, but give you an honest and well-rounded insight into life here at St Greg's. I think it would be remiss of me not to begin without addressing one of the most unique aspects of the school. The fact that the college is a single-sex school was a point that gave my parents and I pause before I enrolled here. We, much like you must now, had to consider whether such an environment would help or hinder me, socially, academically, or otherwise. In my case, having 3 sisters and no brothers mitigated any risk of unfamiliarity or nervousness around girls. Every student is different, however, and we do have different expectations from our schooling. What I can say with surety about an experience here is that it will neither confine you nor will it isolate you. Joint events with the girls at St. Patrick's College, musicals, junior and senior dances are just some examples. I, by no stretch of the imagination, can consider myself now as a graduate from the college any sort of ladies' man. I can safely say, however, that I have emerged from my time here with the ability to work and interact meaningfully with all, irrespective of gender. Just from entering the school here tonight, you will have no doubt gleaned a little or have been reminded of the character of St. Greg's. In a word, my first impression 6 years ago was that it was orderly. The well-practiced and the consistent nature of this place is attributable to Mr. Miller, the staff and its leadership team. I know that the numerous events filed into the college's calendar each year will be accompanied by early and personal communication and shall be delivered smoothly and as a rule meticulously to time. The Titanic might have sunk, the Oscars might have announced the wrong Best Picture, but you can always count on constant attention to detail here. Unsurprisingly, the college does have high student expectations. As I promised you from the outset, I don't wish to present another advertisement to you here today. I make no secret of the fact that these expectations can be difficult to face at first. If we look at academic life, regular homework, assignments and exam blocks are introduced from the get-go. A teacher here famously equated a classroom to a gymnasium of the mind, where brain training is a long-term commitment, ideally getting easier over time. Whilst rigorous and tiring at times, high expectations are here coupled with high-quality support structures. A 9 to 3 working day for the teachers is alien to them. The after-school and the holiday revision sessions, the provision of constant assistance via email, both really impressed me, particularly during my recent HSC. Picking a teacher randomly, I counted all the emails that I had sent throughout my last 3 terms here. I counted 48 emails and 48 timely, personalised responses, the majority of which contained detailed feedback on about 6 to 8 page practice essays. Multiplying those numbers by the 20 or so students that were in my class, and indeed the numerous classes which are assigned to a single teacher each year, gives an indication of what a strong work ethic the teachers have here. This same work ethic is responsible for the strong and the diverse co-curricular program here. I know from my own experience that it is these programs and the facilities here that are of chief importance to the new students. My engagement with co-curricular activities began with the show cattle team in Year 7. My strongest memory from which, rightly or wrongly, was shoveling a lot of cow manure. But things did perk up from them with participation in swimming, cross-country, debating, public speaking, and the mock trial team. Year group camps and activities can be added to that list, having the potential to take you as far as the Tasmanian Overland Track or up the coast as a sailor on a tall ship in Year 10. As with any sporting or extracurricular activity, programs can be both competitive and demanding. I distinctly remember my last athletics carnival here, where after pushing myself a little bit too hard in an extremely low division race, I found myself what can only be described as projectile vomiting a few metres from the track. That notwithstanding, I would implore all to embrace co-curricular life. It can afford enjoyment, enduring skills and self-confidence. My decision to pursue law in tertiary education has been greatly influenced by my involvement in the mock trial team here. Looking back at the entirety of my experience at St. Greg's, I can't help but recognise how much it has influenced who I am today. Its imprint did begin as early as Year 7. My own passion for English and the spoken word can be traced from my first ever English teacher, Mrs. Davison, through to the senior school and my recent work with Miss Arentz and Mrs. Miller. Their own love of the subject is equalled only by their commitment to engaging and mentoring the classes that they teach. This place, its diversity, its rigorous, but also its supportive nature, has equipped me to face the next stages of my life. For that I am grateful and honoured to share with you an insight into my time here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, both for your time and your reflections. Mr. Brennan was appointed Deputy Headmaster at the beginning of 2014 after a successful 7-year appointment as Director of Boarding here at the college. Mr. Brennan will now address the critical area of pastoral care at the college. Please welcome Mr. Brennan.
Thank you very much, Aidan, and can I also echo my welcome and thanks for you giving up your evening tonight to come and be a part of our information night. I must say from the outset, we were down here all saying, who's the poor fellow or person who's going to take the microphone after Sean? And I was very fortunate that I looked through the script and found out it was myself. To Sean, one of the things in his modesty he mentioned the fact he's now studying law, but during the mock trial that he was a part of, he actually received the award for the best barrister. For those who are unsure of mock trial, it's actually a courtroom where you do have witnesses, you do have prosecutors, you do have all parts of a law court. And Sean took the role of barrister and received the prize for the best barrister of the mock trial across the state of New South Wales. And not only was he recognised for that with a certificate and a bit of a trophy, he also received a cheque for $5,000. So certainly for the young men out there who do like to speak, certainly Sean is a guiding light for you there, and certainly mock trial is something that we do very well here at the school. And again, Sean, I really appreciate your words this evening. As Aidan mentioned, one of the things that I have been given the opportunity to speak to you tonight is the pastoral care. I think it's very well known in the area how well the college does with its academics and certainly its sporting. But to achieve those sorts of successes, we've got to have students who are in a position where they are comfortable, where they are felt valued, and where their opinions are sought. They need to be in a place where they feel safe. They need to be in a place where there is an adult presence, again guiding them and ensuring that they're making good choices. You see on the screen there, the Marist Way is known very well, and it's been captured into 5 main points, and you can see those points there. We are also a Catholic school, which again separates, as Sean mentioned, a couple of the differences between us and some other choices you may have. And we are a Catholic school, as I said, first and foremost, and we certainly don't shy away from that. If you look at our main ethos, I guess, of the school, one of our charters is to provide and promote a holistic education, which strives to bring out the best in all the boys. And as so well put by a number of people already this evening, your son may be coming here with dreams of being an astronaut, or it might be a football player, it could be a public speaker, or it could be a lawyer, it could be the best electrician in the Gregory Hills area, and there sure is a lot of those around at the moment. Those opportunities will be given and afforded to your sons here at St Greg's. It's already been mentioned by Sean being a single-sex school, and that does give us some advantage. We focus our education solely around in Year 7 to 12 boys. We've been doing it for over 90 years, as you saw on the video, and it's something we've become quite good at. And you've only got to see the young men in the Camden and Campbelltown community to bear witness to that. So certainly the fact we tailor all of our academics, again, based on boys' needs, boys' wants, boys' interests, boys' likes, is certainly something that stands us against the rest. We talk about our pastoral care program, and Sean's already touched on some of these things, but certainly in Year 7, one of the great things that happen in 2 weeks' time, we send all Year 7 away for 2 nights and 3 days, where they go to the Sport and Rec Centre at Narrabeen. And again, there are physical challenges. For some boys, it will be the longest they've been away from home. And there are their own challenges for those boys there. Again, ably supported by staff, living in cabins with groups, often with young men they've only just met a few weeks earlier. It gives them a real opportunity to go away, get away from the hustle and bustle of daily life and get a chance to really start building those lifelong friendships, which have been identified by numerous speakers this evening. And again, then in Year 8, we look at a 2-day program. There isn't an overnight opportunity there. One day will be out in the bush often, and the other day is on-site, where they look at other important things that occur. We move to Year 9. It's a similar sort of program, but the topics will change. One of the things that I particularly like about the Year 9 program is that we do invite some of the girls from St Pat's, some of the female members of staff, just to talk to the boys about what they expect in young men. And often that's a real eye-opener for the young men here at the school. What they think girls, if you like, are interested, or what they think girls expect them to behave, or what they want from them, is often very, very different when their peers of female gender give them a little bit of insight, which is often a very good talking point. Year 10, again, there is a great opportunity for the boys to go on camps, work experience. There's a number of other programs as well. Sean's mentioned for a group of boys who are interested, there are certainly chances to hike over in Tasmania, to take tall ships up the coast, or to paddle down the Murrumbidgee River, as well as a number of other camping opportunities. We move to Year 11 and 12. Again, social justice is a very big part of our school here, and the boys get an opportunity to have a week where 2 days they are out doing something in the community, whether it's with the homeless, whether it's with the aged care, whether it's with some of our students with special needs in the local area or in a little bit wider. The boys go out and get an opportunity to see possibly how lucky they have it here at this school and in their own particular family settings, and also an opportunity to reflect on what's important in their life. And then they go and have 3 days to reflect on that and spend some time with boys or young men at this stage, who many of them have been together since Year 7, which again we think is very, very important. It's a very exhaustive list, or it's not an exhaustive list actually. There's a number of things I picked up this evening that we haven't put on there, but they're just a very small snapshot of the things that your sons can get involved in if they are interested. And I would challenge you to come up with another school that would give that sort of range for the boys in their school. And again, I looked at it again and I sort of tried to, if you like, pigeonhole particular boys or particular interests, and certainly when you look at that list, I think we cater for all. One of the things that we don't apologise for here is that the standards that we have here, both in academics and the expectations in behaviour and uniform, we won't apologise for. And certainly one of the things that we find is critically important is looking at ways in rewarding good work. So there's certainly an opportunity, as you can see there, with different recognitions for boys. You've heard, many of you may have heard about the stamps. We often look for the green stamps, which is just recognising, or it's a notification to you as parents, that your boys are trying hard, that your boys have done homework well, that they may have helped a person. And obviously the boys work hard on collecting those throughout the course of their time at the school. And there are certainly very many public opportunities to recognise boys who are having a go and doing their very best. The flip side to that, as always, is that there are always consequences for behaviour, often very positive consequences. And at times we have to pull students up who may not be meeting the expectations that we have here. As I mentioned before, I'll never stand up here and apologise for the fact that our old school values are still very much entrenched in all that we do here at St Gregory's. A good example, as you can see there, when any adult walks into a room, the expectation is the class stops what it's doing, the boys would stand, they would greet the adult that came in and then be invited to sit back down again. And Mr Miller often uses the analogy, if you had a visitor come into your home, you wouldn't ignore them and continue what you were doing, you would stop what you were doing and you'd welcome them. And it's something that we have been doing here for many, many years, and long will it continue. Again, we have very high expectations here at the school, very high, and boys meet them every day, every minute of every day. So this shouldn't be something that should be fearful for you as a parent or for you as young men. But what I have found is, and I've said this many, many times, that we back the culture here to ensure that we try and get the best version of your sons or the best version of yourselves that you can possibly be. Our policies are well documented throughout the website and the student diaries and those sorts of things, so there's no surprises for any parents or boys. One of the other things that we pride ourselves on is our opportunity or our commitment to our communication with you as parents. I think you need to look no further than the website if you were there to have a look at parent communication, and I think we're into week 4. There's probably already been 10 or 15 different sorts of letters that have gone out to parents over different things. And we certainly expect that the students, when they are representing the school, they're not only representing themselves, the school, but they're also representing you as families. So again, as I said to the boys recently, when they are coming to school and leaving school, they're still part of the St Gregory's community. We often say taking the uniform off doesn't change the person. So whilst in public they're in uniform and they all look very smart, it's always very, very positive to speak to other people at different times who met St Greg's boys, who talk about the fact that it's important enough for us as a school to teach boys how to shake hands properly, how to make eye contact with an adult, how to conduct themselves in a forum such as this, how to be able to engage adults in conversation. So in closing in my part, and I will be coming up at the end of the evening just to give you some pertinent information in regards to the enrolment. Mr Miller's thanked many of the staff that have been here this evening, and I'd echo those, and there's a couple of other people as well, Mr Baldino Vetrano, who is our pastoral care coordinator, who looks after a lot of these things, the day-to-day expectations. And again, we don't apologise for the standards that Mr Vetrano instills in the boys. We're also very blessed to have a brothers community, a Marist brothers community that live within our community as well. And Brother Ernest Houston, who is a former principal of St Gregory's, is here somewhere this evening. I'm not sure. Brother will give us a wave somewhere. There he is in the back row. And technology is always a big thing, and certainly it rarely fails us, and it's because we've got a fantastic IT team, and we've got Paul Putland, one of our staff, hiding up the top in the I'm not sure, the control centre, let's call it, just making sure that everything is working. So again, just in closing, can I thank you all very, very much for being here. I know there's still a couple of more speakers. We'll hand out some packages, and I enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you to Mr Brennan. Mr Spencer joined the college in 2011 as a senior boarding coordinator. In 2015, Mr Spencer was appointed as the Director of Boarding. To talk briefly about the boarding opportunities available at St Gregory's College, I invite Mr Spencer to the microphone.
Thanks, Mitch, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening, young men looking at St Gregory's. We are a boarding college, and we are the only boarding college in this area, so just an opportunity tonight to tell you a little bit about that, just to perhaps satisfy your curiosity, or there's also the possibility that there are some of you who may well be thinking about it, and that might come across as unusual, but we do get boys each year that come in and board weekly, even if they're in the local area. So we've had our first boarder from Gregory Hills last year, so it does happen. A few other things there. So what we do in boarding is we provide structure for the boys, and whether or not that's about coming in of an afternoon and it's free time first up of an afternoon, but then we move into a study session, dinner, a little bit more study than free time. That's how it works during the week. So if your boys were joining weekly boarding, that would be the program, and that has staff available with the boys 24/7. And the boys can do their study, have access to help with that, and also tutors that come in and help the boys. So it's a great way of them adjusting to some of those demands that Sean spoke about with dealing with homework for the first time. And some of the boys will just comment that coming here, there's just the getting on top of the homework is the biggest challenge, and they can do that in boarding, so it helps them a lot. The routine, as I said, was there, but that's that structure continues through the weekend as well, and Saturday sport's a big thing as well. So we are a Thursday sports school, but we provide sport on Saturdays as well, in winter and in summer, and all boys can participate in those. You don't have to be a boarder to do that either. Mitch mentioned this when he started. He talked about the values, but also the mateship. And obviously for the boarders, that becomes a big thing over the years. Living together for 6 years, you could imagine they become very, very close-knit, and that's one of the things they're very passionate about. And your sons will make those connections regardless of whether they would come into boarding or not, because we are a boarding school and we do have a number of boys from all over country New South Wales. And those connections are great to see over the years, where city boys will go out to the country and spend time on some of these incredible properties we have out there, with sheep farmers, wine growers, grape growers, you name it, it's all there. We've had orange growers, everything. And the boys will go out and experience those things, and as well as, no doubt a lot of your homes over the years will take in some of those boarders as well and have them for a weekend. So there's great connections made between the city and the country boys that come here to St Greg's. All the boys have their own rooms over there, and that was pretty rare. Those boarding houses were built last century, not in the 90s, but they were ahead of their time when they were built, and all the boys have their own rooms. And then we have a detached flat that's in each of those boarding houses, so they always have an adult with them at all times. That's including sleeping overnight in the houses. It's a very family-oriented atmosphere. There are 12 staff that work in the boarding houses that live on the hill, and that includes myself and the headmaster. That's a bit of the daily routine, getting the boys out of bed. If that's a challenge for you at home, it's not for us here. The radio goes on, we get all the boys up together, they get their uniforms on, they make their beds, empty their bins, tidy their desks, open their windows and curtains, all that sort of stuff. It's a set routine they do each day, and then we head over for breakfast in the morning and then for school for the day. And then the afternoon routine's there. They have some afternoon tea, go down to sport training, they use the pool, use the basketball courts, go and play touch football, go down to the cricket nets. They've got access to all the facilities at all times during that hour. And the study sessions are there, which I spoke about. So assistance there, tutoring available, etc. Full boarding, it might not be for everyone here tonight, obviously, but if home's just down the road, but certainly you probably might be looking at weekly boarding if you've got an interest there, or extended boarding. So the option to come in on a Monday morning and leave on a Thursday, or you can come in on a Sunday night and leave on a Friday. That's the full weekly boarding option. If you have questions, I'm here tonight, and as Damien said, he does the tour on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and that would include anyone who's interested in getting a good look at the boarding houses, just seeing what it's all about. You're very welcome to take that up. Otherwise, please talk to myself or Kate here tonight as well, and we're happy to talk more about the options there for you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Mrs. Dean is the current Careers Advisor, but also performs the critical role of Parent Liaison Officer. To talk to you about some opportunities for parents, please welcome Mrs. Dean.
Thanks, darling. It's very hard to come up last, but I always say I'll just leave it as they leave the best till, and leave it at that. Good evening and welcome. People in the front row have put me on a time, which they was due, but I tend to ignore them anyway. I ignore them because I need you to know that the rest of tonight's been about your sons, and for the next 5 minutes it's about you. And we need you to know that we value, and I mean it quite sincerely, the role of parent liaison that I take on, which means that I am here to be a voice for you and on behalf of yourselves, so that you know exactly the journey your sons are about to go on. I think primary schools do it very well. They make you very welcome, and they invite you in throughout all the years that your sons are there. We do the same. We do the same because we think it is most important that you are along for the journey with your sons. There are a lot of times that decisions have to be made, that you get new information. I don't know if you know what an ATAR is. I don't know if you know what a school-based apprenticeship is, or that you can do primary industries in year 8 and 9. But as a parent, you will be part of that decision-making with your sons, and we want you to know that we feel that we value our chance to tell you about them, so together you'll make those decisions. Like all good things, you look at what works and what doesn't work. And 9 years ago when I came, we were struggling a little bit with the P&Fs. PNFs were traditionally places where people came and had to end up being presidents, secretaries and treasurers, only usually because of guilt. So we decided they weren't working and we introduced what we call parent forums. And our parent forums gave us the chance for parents to meet on a more casual basis with our headmaster, and lucky for you, me as well. And we meet once a term. What we do during those meetings, they usually last about an hour to an hour and a half, is that we get the chance to hear from Mr. Miller about what's been happening around the school, the various things that your son and other boys have been involved in, and also ask you for your opinions on some things. And they can be as varied as which socks wash the best. Did a very long series on those, and I think we've got that down to a fine art. When the buildings were all being built, we used to bring the plans in and show our parents so that they were part of that. No one would have to not know that there's been a lot of road work going on. And again, Mr. Miller was able to bring those plans in and talk them over with the parents and ask for their opinions. What we do, how we run these parent forums, is that we run them once a term and we keep them in the year groups, because often the things that we share with you are things that are relevant to certain age groups. So we keep our Year 7 parents together. We join Year 8 and 9 together, and then the seniors as Year 10, 11 and 12. We have a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we have the same meeting at 7:30 at night, in the hope that you have a chance to attend one or the other. On the average, we see over 300 parents a year through terms 1, 2 and 3, following that format. At the end of the night, after we've had, or the morning when we've had our meetings, if you have something that's more specific to your son, then you can come and see one of us and we will look after you and help you if we can in that matter. The other side of that was our volunteer sheet. And what we decided to do was we put out a sheet, or I put out a sheet every year, and on that we list all the things that you as a parent, where we're asking for a bit of help. The absolute joy of my life are the Year 7 to 9 dances, where ear-piercing noise comes through for a few hours and boys and girls socialise and have fun. But we can't do that without your support, so we ask you to help us there. We might ask you to help come to the open day. If you came on the open day last weekend, you would have seen over 40 parents come and help me in the foyer there, serve your morning tea, and on that very hot area out there cooking your barbecues. We have a range of things, and how we do it is I just put out a sheet every year. We write down everything that we would like you or ask you to help with. There's no obligation, but sometimes you might find a time that's a little less hectic for you and you're able to put your hand up and help us out. Every year, at the end of the year, we say thank you and we have a headmaster's dinner. And again, number-wise, we usually look in excess of 200 people that attend that dinner. And that's our way to say thank you. We appreciate what you do for us. On a social side, we've introduced the maroon and blue dinner dance, which are our school colours. You don't have to wear maroon and blue, which I have been asked over the years. You simply have to come along and have a nice night. It's a great chance. We try and put people from the same year groups together, so you get a chance to meet the parents of other boys in your son's year group. And I can honestly say that I saw friendships start when the boys were in Year 7, that continued and grew stronger as the boys continued through to Year 12, and many parents, luckily, and in a very nice way, are still great friends once their boys have left the college. The parents say, once a St Greg's parent, always a St Greg's parents, just like the boys do. But I just want you to know, and that's why we've had this 5 minutes that I'm allowed, to tell you that you are valued, that you are important, and there would never be a time that you wouldn't have something that you want to ask us that we wouldn't do our best to answer you with. So if you are part of St Greg's, if you decide to come, then it would be a great pleasure to serve you as parent liaison. Thank you very much.
For the final word of the evening, I invite Mr. Brennan to give you some key dates regarding the enrolment process.
Thanks again, Mitch. Mrs Dean did mention she didn't listen to Mr Miller and his times, and that was actually 6.5 minutes, so you're over, so there'll be obviously some penalties there. Can I just, before I do go through the application process now, just take the opportunity to thank both Aidan and Mitch for being here this evening. Many of you would have heard the outstanding band that were playing as you arrived this evening. Aidan was actually on the bass guitar there, so he played from 20 to 7 to 28 past 7, and then came running down here to sit in the front row, sitting next to the school captain Mitch, who emceed the night last night for our junior school, which we had similar sorts of numbers for, only 50 kindergarten places, so that's going to be an interesting process for all involved there. Mitch is also coming to the Bishop's ordination with us tomorrow night, which he's just finding out now. Also, he will be one of our cocktail waiters on Friday night and Saturday night, so he's certainly got a great week ahead of him. Plus he'll fit 3 hours study each night, of course. Just looking at the application process, a few very key important pieces of information. Please make sure that you can fill the forms out in as much detail as possible. If we haven't got all of the required information, we will be returning those to you. And we would ask that, whilst I know in junior school your boys will all have these beautiful display folders with multiple pages, we ask if you can put them in a single plastic sleeve, just for ease of getting all the information out, doing the checks and working forward there. The process we're going to try and get done quickly for 2 reasons. The first one is to give you peace of mind knowing where your son will be next year. We try and do that in case there is a situation where we're oversubscribed. There's still ample opportunity to ensure that your son, if you are looking for a Catholic education, has that opportunity to do so. The interview process will take place on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 8th and 9th of May respectively, and you'll be given an opportunity to nominate a time that suits you between the hours of 1:30 and 7:30. We'll have it in this building here. We normally have about 14 to 15 staff assisting us, who are generally middle managers of the school or members of the leadership team, where you have an opportunity to have a conversation with your sons and a member of our staff. We then will ensure that applicants will be notified by June 1st and a letter of offer will be mailed. We then ask for, you'll get another package of information with that, and we ask that that is returned by Friday the 15th of June. There's a confirmation of enrolment fee which you will read about, and that needs to accompany that last stage of paperwork. And then the final date is one that Friday the 16th of November. It's a long way away, I know, for many of you, but it will come around very, very quickly, where the rest of the student body at the school has the day off, and we give the school to the boys coming the year after. And there'll be a day with a number of activities which will include a numeracy and literacy activity in this room to ensure that we can give all of the boys the support that they require when they come here in Year 7, as well as other opportunities through the day to again start building those friendships. Mitch mentioned it was daunting, as so did some of the other boys, and I know when my first year here I had a Year 7 class, 29 students from 26 different primary schools. So it certainly is an opportunity to meet many, many new students. So that concludes our evening for tonight. You'll see as you leave this evening, all of the staff that Mr Miller has mentioned are here to answer any questions that you may have. We would ask again, if you weren't here on Sunday, there is a bag. If you see the lady with the name Kate Stott on her, if you might stand up, Kate. Sorry, I shouldn't ask you to stand up, like see you've got a bung leg. But if you can please see Kate and get your bag. If you were here on Sunday, we'd ask you to take an envelope on your way out from one of the students that are distributing those. And we look forward to seeing you and your applications here very soon. Thank you and good night.